Hey, look at that good looking fella and his daughter paddling out in their maiden voyage of the canoe he just built. Yeah, that's me. And yes, I built a cedar strip canoe in my garage over the winter and spring in about 6 months. I did not take a class, maybe I should have, but I made it strictly using the books that came with the kit and watching a lot of YouTube videos. I'm not a woodworker, and so I had a lot of success, but I also made a ton of mistakes. It was still a wonderful experience. I would do it all over again. So this is the first of 3 videos. They break apart the process in 3 phases in order. My goal is to share what worked and what didn't work, the lessons I learned, and to keep these videos to less than 10 minutes each because I don't like watching videos longer than 10 minutes. So get your notepad, sit back, enjoy, and here we go. Let's get started. I bought my canoe kit from Noah's Marine in Toronto, Canada. Shipping and the cost of the kit altogether to send it to me in Tennessee was roughly $2,000. So that's what I was in for from the outset. Quite a few things came in that kit. Some of the key things that came were the long cedar strips, the material for the gun wells, the plans, the hardware, the seats, the resin and hardener that made up the epoxy, and quite a few other small items, but that's what came in the kit. To build the canoe, I primarily used the step-by-step guide that came with it for the first half in particular, and then I also used the Canoe Craft book quite a bit, especially at the second half of the build, and I went to YouTube a lot and used a lot of YouTube videos of other people building it. So what did I have in my garage to help me? I don't have a big woodworking shop, but I had some key things and I did have to go buy a few things as well. Space is important. You're going to need the full space of your garage. I had sawhorses, a jigsaw, an orbital sander, which I used a ton. Eventually I got a second one so I could have 2 people working with me because you're going to spend hours and hours sanding. A stapler, a power drill, a level, twine, and then clamps, lots and lots of clamps. In fact, I went all over my town. I think I bought every clamp that was available in the city I live in over the course of a month because you'll need lots of them. The first part of the build was to create the Strongback, and this is the frame or the foundation that you're going to build the boat upon. Make sure it's super level. I probably could have done a little bit better job with that. I put some shims in later, but make sure it's level. Really proud to say that I built it out of 1 piece of plywood. Then the next big task is creating the station molds. So you're going to spend a lot of time very carefully tracing these out. And you can see that from the video right here that you have carbon copy paper, and if you just take your time, I didn't think it was that hard. It just took a lot of time and patience to put it together, but that's also explained very well in the step-by-step guide. When I was done with that, then I worked on cutting those out and creating each of those station molds. Make sure you mark them right on them so you remember what number they are. This is in the book, but the numbering is really important when you put them on the Strongback. And you can see me working on that there and using those clamps, which turned out to be really important, as I said. The next step in the process was the creation of the stems. And this is hardwood that you're going to bend and then laminate. It's a really crucial part of the boat. I was really nervous about it not bending, so I soaked it in my bathtub the night before. And then how I created my steamer is I went and got an electric coffee pot from Goodwill for $1 and put that underneath a piece of PVC pipe and built that as my steamer. I put the pieces of laminate that we were creating down in there for several minutes and pulled them out, and then as you can see from the video, it bent really well. We had all of our clamps perfectly laid out, and it's really hot, so wear gloves, and I bent it over that mold, and then we put each of those clamps in place, and it worked great. Then the next phase after that, when that dries after a few days, is you're going to do your first work with the resin and the hardener, creating epoxy. and you're going to make 2 different laminate stems for the ends of the boat. That part went pretty well as well and is very well explained in the book. The last part of the setup for the boat is setting up each of your station molds. This part is very satisfying because you start to see the shape of a canoe, which is fantastic. The most important part of this process is making sure that those station molds are plumb and level from every direction. I set those up multiple times to make sure that they were really plumb and level. I put a jig line across the top, and you can see me constantly checking that they are level. I used just regular little deck screws to put those in. That worked really well. And that was the end of the first part of setting up my boat and getting ready for the planking.